Hi fans, welcome back for another episode of EWI Tuesday. It's been a while, and because of course I'm busy doing other stuff like playing saxophone and teaching and stuff like that. But anyway, I had gotten a question in the comments about when should you clean the mouthpiece on the EWI. And I thought it was a very good question. And I'm going to be showing what I do to clean the mouthpiece, how often I do it, and also give a tip on when to actually exchange the mouthpiece, and also some other basic maintenance or tips about and around the EWI. So stay tuned coming up. But before we go on, please subscribe to this channel, like this video, and share it with your friends. And now let's get into it. So now when it comes down to when should you actually clean the mouthpiece on the EWI, I'd say you'd have to do it just like you do on saxophone. You know, it all depends on how often you're playing, how intensively you're playing. If you're only playing it every once in a while during the week, you know, once a week or maybe once every 2 weeks, who knows. If you're playing it a lot, I would do it every couple of days. You know, another caveat in there is that if you've had a cold and you've been playing your EWI, and maybe then you put it down, and then after your cold is over and you want to start playing it again, I would advise cleaning the mouthpiece before you continue on playing again. Otherwise, any type of bacteria that might have been left on the mouthpiece while you had a cold, you might be ingesting that again and you might get sick again. Who knows? But anyway, let's get into the specifics about how I clean the mouthpiece and other things you can do in order to clean. You could try, I have like two different methods. You could use them in combination, or you could just use any one of them. So let's get into it. So let's get into the specifics about how to remove the mouthpiece. Okay, so I'm taking off the cap here. Now, if you notice, the mouthpiece on an EWI is actually screwed in. You know, so I've once had a EWI USB that I had bought used from someone else, and obviously they had managed to break off the mouthpiece because they didn't realize that there was a screwdriver in there. But anyway, you could use a very small Phillips screwdriver or any type of screwdriver. I have jewelry screws. They're very small. I usually carry in my saxophone case in order to do some adjustments on the screws on the saxophone. But one of these would also fit, you know, into your EWI. And then, of course, find a way to slowly turn and slightly pulling on the mouthpiece. And so you notice here that's maybe loosening until you get there, until the screw is loose. Have to use another screwdriver here until you notice the screw is loose, and then you could take the mouthpiece off. Here I have to change positions here, being left-handed. So I just slowly turn the screwdriver, and slowly I can see the mouthpiece is coming up. And of course you want to do this someplace on the table or something where you could easily see the screw, because the screw is actually quite small and you don't want to lose it. You see, you don't want to make sure you don't want to lose it, so it comes off, and now you have the mouthpiece here, and you see you have these lips here. These are part that goes into the mouthpiece here for bite control. So just putting that down. So now I have the mouthpiece alone, and you see within it there's several holes there in the front. Now the first thing what I could do is that, first of all, you could use water on it because it's plastic here, and the mouthpiece is a type of rubber, synthetic material, but do not put it in boiling water. In boiling water, I think that would be a mistake. I think you could use, if any case, you can use, I advise using sure hot water with some dish washing detergent in it, just a little bit, a couple of drops, and you could submerge the mouthpiece in this water solution and just let it sit there for 5 minutes or something like that. And you could just either just let it drain out, or you could use toothbrush if you have to, the type of tool to do that, but I don't think it's really that necessary. But you can do that. But I think better than the toothbrush is the next method I could use. Like, okay, I could just first here, and then I could just rinse it off with water and then dry it off, and then I'm basically good to go. So if any case, use some good, very warm water and soap will also do it. And also to make sure you check here, you know, and that the spaces between this plastic mouthpiece and the plastic, you know, where you put your lips on, and the plastic there, to see if there's any grime or anything there, any dirt that you want to get rid of, and to make sure that your mouthpiece is clean that way. So I'm going to carry on with the second method I could show you here. Now the second method I could show you here, I like to use this in combination with the first one. After I've done washing it in warm water and some dishwashing liquid, and I dry it off, then I like to take some rubbing alcohol, some rubbing alcohol and some Q-tips, some Q-tips. What I'll do is I'm putting some rubbing alcohol in the cap here, because I won't need that much of it, just a few drops. And what I'll do is I'll take a Q-tip here, just dip it in there, and I'll first go within the mouthpiece. You see where I have the holes there. I'll first put the Q-tip in one of the largest holes there first, and just to clean that out. And I'll go into each smaller hole. Now it's going to be a snug fit, but that's okay, because then with the smaller holes on the side, I wind up coming and pushing it through to the very tip of the mouthpiece and wind up coming out here. And what I'll do is I'll just have it put in there once, go in the other hole, push it also through there, and I wind up coming out toward the front. You see it right, beneath the opening there, and rubbing that out. Then I'll just also to it between the lips here in front and push it out that way. Now, of course, of course the Q-tip is going to get bent and stuff like that, but that's okay. I could just use the other side, and I can go in through the front. I could also check around here, around the rim, to make sure there's not any grime there, and I could just clean it off there. And basically then I'll have this waxy very clean, this with rubbing alcohol. Then after that I could just rinse it off with some cold water, and then dry it off, and then actually I'll be good to go. The mouthpiece is then thoroughly clean. Or if I want to make sure, I could also make sure there's nothing left over, I use another dry Q-tip to dry off any type of excess rubbing alcohol if I wish. If I do it that way, do whatever you think is best, and then after that you could screw the mouthpiece back on the EWI. But of course, being very careful about just not ramming it on. Just be very careful. I mean, the EWI set up that you could snugly put it back on without any damage to the lips at the front. This goes in the largest hole there, and then fits back on. And then you take your screw. Cool if you have a screw that has at least a magnetic head, so then there's a few chances of actually losing the screw. And you just screw it back on, and now you're good to go. So now you got a clean mouthpiece. Now, as far as when you should replace the mouthpiece, because there are mouthpiece replacements for the EWI. They usually cost around $15 a piece, somewhere around there. I'd say you should replace the mouthpiece, one, if you bought it used from someone else, just to be sure. Who knows how well they clean the mouthpiece. You could either clean it the way I just did, or maybe you could just buy a new mouthpiece and totally replace it. Or I'd say if you're playing it for a while, you can also replace the mouthpiece if for some reason the mouthpiece starts to discolor. I haven't had this experience of it actually having that happen, but I'd say this is something that can happen with plastics, with synthetic materials, at some point, if it starts to discolor, then I would, who knows, for whatever reason, or if it gets damaged somehow, or like, who knows, burnt, whatever, I don't know what you're doing with it. But if that should happen, but if in these cases, then I would just replace the mouthpiece 100%. Like I said, you could either find it in the store, you can order on shops online, either Amazon has it, Thomann has it. Then you could just replace the mouthpiece totally by just screwing it up, screwing it off, putting the new mouthpiece on, screwing it back on. You got a new mouthpiece. Now once you have your EWI, it comes with a mouthpiece cap on it, which actually doesn't fit very well. It's actually quite loose. And it falls off quite easily. Now, some people have used a solution where they've taped something on it, they've used Velcro or something like that. My solution is a lot simpler. I use gaffers tape, or a type of silver tape, and I just put like a layer on the inside of the mouthpiece. I just use it on one side because I figured out, for me, that was enough. Just a lining there, so that makes us a little bit snug fit for the cap on the mouthpiece, and that's worked out quite well for me. So like I said, any type of you could use electric tape, you could use any type of industrial tape, that's still quite thin, and just basically try to use eye measurement, and just try it out first with just one layer and see how that fits. Maybe you want to have an even tighter fit, so maybe you want to put a second layer of tape there in order to have your mouthpiece cap fit even more snug onto your EWI. Now, just another tip when it comes down to the touch sensitive keys. Now, the thing is here, you notice that the side keys down here for your right hand little finger, they all have screws. Maybe you're aware of it, you're not aware of it, but you can actually replace these. Well, actually, you could actually screw them off. Be careful, they're very short screws. And you could actually, some people actually replace, or I say exchange the last two screws, like they put the longer lever here and the shorter lever down there. Sometimes it all depends on what works for you. So, and plus you could also adjust these keys as far as how close or how far they are from apart from each other. So once you have the EWI, you're not stuck with this position. You could actually do some type of modification, at least with these three keys. I've done fine how the keys, what they're set up are. I just moved one here. You see I have here one set a little bit closer to the lower key. But also I could actually just exchange that away. I mean, I kept that one a little bit loose. That it works. It doesn't really touch too much with the other key, but sometimes I put a little bit closer so I can get added to it. Again, some people exchange like these two sometimes. They just find out what configuration works for them the best. And, that way, so you could actually have adjustable things. The only pet peeve maybe I have about the EWI is about this hook here for you could have a neck strap on it, but I think it's set a little bit too low for the instrument. It could be higher, because at some point when I have the EWI around my neck, still at some point the instrument is still a little bit too far away from my body, and so, but of course there's not much room that you could do as far as getting it upwards. But that's just something, maybe at some point, a nice solution. I'll think about a nice solution to deal with that. Now, another thing of interest for your EWI is that you may want to have a stand to put it on at home or on the gig and things like this. One stand that you see quite often made by Sax Racks, the company Sax Racks, where they have a specific stand for the EWI. It's pretty sturdy and things like that. But I think for the construction, the type of materials that are involved, or let me say the amount of materials involved, it's quite expensive. It could be I think up to $75. I might be wrong. I have to check this on Amazon for the EWI stand. But what I found was something from Japan. It's actually a lighter stand. It's actually compact, good for. I mean, it's a little bit way to put it together. I mean, it comes with also a nice 3 feet that you put it together. So this is a stand here. I'll put the link in the description to this stand, and it's basically, you know, it's a tripod stand, 3 legs on it, and with a little tray where your EWI would rest on top of it, and also fits snugly there, and a guard we could also put here too as well, just in case if it really should not move, for, you know, for whatever reasons and things like that. But it's still, if you have it away, I mean, then at least you can grab your EWI, you can at least put it front, or you could put it like this so that it's easy to grab. That way, you know, if you're on stage, you could easily grab it that way. And it's lightweight, you know, and it only costs somewhere around, I believe this was around the range of 30 bucks, something like that, at the most. My only pet peeve about it is that, another good thing about it, it's not only for the EWI, I think you could also use it for a rolling aerophone if you happen to have that too. This is a Japanese company called Kikutani Music. Again, no, not Japanese company, Taiwanese. Taiwanese company, Kikutani Music. And there, I'll put the link in the description. My only pet peeve about this stand is that it has plastic feet on it. And reason why is that I have a pet peeve, because if I'm playing a good gig on a hardwood floor, or if I have it at home, this slides around quite easily. You know, that could be something quite unstable on the gig on stage if this stand can actually move too easily. I had written to the company and gave the suggestion of using rubber feet. You know, all they did was they just mailed me back with the dimensions of the feet, basically saying, okay, if you find rubber feet, you can just slip them on yourself. And which was like, okay, fine, you know, but would have been cooler if something that said, hey, that would be cool to think about, you know, because I just basically said with rubber feet, at least I won't be slipping on some very slick floor that way, so that it just really just stands in one place. I don't have to worry about it moving around. But, you know, depending on what you're doing on stage, how many stands you have up there, maybe you want to use some type of gaffer tape or something like that to actually tape it to the floor to make sure it doesn't move. You may do that with one of your saxophone stands anyway, or any other stands you might be doing that, you know. But this is a stand that in any case I recommend, because it's lightweight. You could put it almost in just about any gig bag, and a gig bag for your EWI, I'm going to get to that right away. And in any case, or if you're not in a gig bag, you could also just fit it in to your bag of whatever you're carrying to the gig. It works out quite nicely. And again, like I said, it folds up. Your feet fold in. You know, you flip over there, and then it's basically compact. You know, doesn't come with any type of bag to hold it, anything like that. But you know, if that's not so terribly important for you, it's no big deal. I mean, it barely weighs. It barely weighs 2 pounds. I mean, not even that much. But it's something I recommend, and I say it costs at least half as much as the EWI stand from Sax Racks. So now we're going to get into the gig bag. So, get into the gig bag. So AKAI has its own gig bag for the EWI, and I think there's maybe 1 or 2 companies that also make a gig bag for the EWI. I think, for at least what I've seen, I haven't tried them, but I just have my doubts about the sturdiness of those bags. But and they're also quite expensive for what actually they have. But what I found that works out very well, that also doesn't cost a lot of money, is just a gig bag for a soprano saxophone. Now, if you have an EWI 5000 or EWI 4000, it will be a perfect fit. For the EWI USB, maybe the bag will be too large, but so that means it moves around. But then you could put foam in there or something in order to take up that space. If you're playing an EWI Solo, sorry, the EWI Solo is too large, too long for a soprano gig bag. But I'll just show you what I have here. I have basically a standard soprano sax gig bag that has some padding really on the bottom for where the bell usually is, and some foam on the sides, padding on the top and here. And with this bag, this is from the company AKAI. Here they had like a bag in it where I supposedly did, someone would put their soprano in here. I would never think about putting my soprano in a bag, but I could put my EWI in this bag if I wanted to prevent any type of scratches, or that that's possibly that the instrument would get wet, or any dampness would come into it. So then it fits snugly into the bag, and I have some space on top. So what I could do there, I could put in foldable headphones for practicing. There's enough space for it then. I can close up the bag just as snug as that. Possibly, just to have to check. This stand, what I just talked about before, I could also put my stand here in the bag. Also fits here in the top layer. And I can close that quite easily without too much pressure getting onto the instrument itself. I can put it in there, but like I said, that's optional. On the side bag, there I got enough space for the hair rings, for putting on the mouthpiece in case extra moisture drops down. I got the saxophone strap in there. Got a cable in there. Got also my USB cable. Also got charger there. I could also put the the wireless box also in the bag. And I still have some space here. Usually here where they have like an instrument bag here, I have like whatever cables I could put in there. But also what I think is a good idea to put in there, and I'll talk about next, is replaceable battery. Also have that with me on the gig or nearby, actually just in case. And I'll talk about my experience with the rechargeable battery on the EWI 5000. So the battery in the EWI. Now, it has a rechargeable battery in it. It has a lithium battery in it. And if you know from your mobile phone, there is, you have to, sometimes, you can actually let it decharge until it's empty, and in order to charge it back up again. And there's a maximum, and lithium batteries have a certain type of chargeable memory and blah, blah, blah. But with the EWI, that's a little bit different story. Usually from other users I've checked online and things like this, is that you have to be careful that the battery does not get too low on juice. Otherwise, you will not be able to charge it back up again. This is something I had no problem with for months, but all of a sudden one day I couldn't charge it. It just wasn't doing it, and then looking around, I found out what the problem was. It was about too low of a charge. Sometimes it's impossible, or actually would be impossible, to recharge that battery. And then of course, getting a rechargeable battery, getting the battery for the EWI 5000 or also for the EWI Solo, it's not a standard battery. It's an industry battery, so that means you have to go to special stores or order them online somewhere to get them. Now, Amazon advertises having a replaceable battery for the EWI 5000, but do not go that route, because I did that at first and the battery was too large to fit in here. It wasn't the right one, and I had to send that back and I had to tell them that wasn't it. You have to be careful that once you're ordering it, you have to get the specific part number, which is the UF 16650ZTA. This is the only battery that will fit into the EWI 5000, and I imagine possibly for the Solo, but I don't know. And it's really a snug fit, I have to say. It's not easy getting the other battery out and putting this battery in. You know, it's a type of thing you have to first dislodge it from the chip, a little connection there, and also probably with a tweezer get this one in there, and then really find a way to have space for this little bit of cable and the battery to fit into that little space. It's actually very snug. And I look at this as a little bit of a design mishap on the part of AKAI. That this actually is not only used as a specialized battery, but also it's just a very snug fit, and it's not that easy to replace. But I've had the unfortunate situation that I had to replace the battery twice, you know, and these batteries are not cheap. They cost around $20 a shot, you know, so I ordered a couple in surplus to make sure that I had enough batteries to go in case it should happen to me again. But this is something I'd say to put in your gig bag, you know, if you're going to take a battery with you, and just in case, and at least you'll be able to unscrew the plate, recharge your battery, and then you'll be good to go. Good to go for the gig, should it happen to you on the gig. Of course, you won't be able to do it that quickly on stage, but you'll have to do it during intermission or something. And but in any case, yeah, like I said, the gig bag, yeah, as I mentioned, the gig bag before, this one for soprano saxophone, a lot cheaper than actually getting any one of the bags that are supposedly for the AKAI EWI. I think that's just just some marketing thing, and it's actually they charge too much. But actually a basic gig bag, you know, that's for soprano saxophone, that's not too flimsy, you know, at least to have some padding on it, should do fine. Yeah, so that's enough for this installment of EWI Tuesday. If you have any questions, any situations, any tips you want to know about, please write them in the comments. I'll look into it to see if I don't know already, but I'll see if I could try to find a solution for you. And again, like, subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see each other again soon.